Okay, hello again. Here we are back. AMA part 3. um, so I got a lot more questions than I thought I would. So I hope you're in for the long haul. All right, here we go. How did you get so full of weird, and why are you eager to spill it? Okay, so literally all like 99% of my weirdness comes from my dad, who will out weird me any day. To understand me, you really have to understand my father. He makes limoncello in his basement. He built a giant brick oven in his backyard. Has a 50-quart mixer for when he just wants to like bake a lot of bread for the holidays. Um, He's a dentist by trade, but he went to culinary school in his late 40s and regularly cooks on public television in Pittsburgh. Um, he's friends with literally everyone. No one is a stranger to him. Um, he has an extensive collection of really ridiculous and silly hats and has shown up to the airport to greet me in everything from a Christmas tree to a sombrero. He really enjoys teaching his great nieces and nephews, how to blow up marshmallow peeps in the microwave. He will dance to anything that he can get his Alexa to play and will yell at her if he cannot find something that he wants her to play. But he makes everything fun. When I told him that my partner and I were going to go skydiving, he jumped right in. He wanted to come with us immediately. I took him to get his ear pierced, his first ear piercing, and I took him to get his first tattoo when we were on vacation several years ago. So we are equally bad influences on one another. But he really taught me that if you can feed people and you can make them laugh, you can make the world around you pretty freaking great. But yeah, he's definitely what made me so full of weird. Okay, sorry, I had to get my dogs to stop barking. That is a regular occurrence if you have Shelties. So that there's a chance that could happen a few more times. But as I was saying, yes, my dad is definitely where I get all of my weird from, even though he says that he wishes he could be like me when he grows up. Yeah. So why am I eager to spill it? I don't know. I'm actually kind of an introvert most of this time, but there's something about you guys, and I'm speaking specifically to you people from Fido. There is something about you guys that gives me this really bizarre and weird confidence that is completely foreign to me. So, yeah, I appreciate that, and I really enjoy spilling my weird to you. All right. Oh, this was a really hard question for me. What's your favorite sport, and why is it your favorite? I've been a sports junkie my whole life. I grew up listening to Mike Lang call Penguins games and Myron Cope call Steelers games for most of my childhood. I still distinctly remember crying after the Steelers lost to the Cowboys in the Super Bowl in 1995. It was a very traumatic experience. There's a lot of nostalgia wrapped up in my love for those teams. If you're talking about my favorite sport to play, to do myself, it's probably swimming of some kind. I was a competitive swimmer for about 13 years, and I also did and taught synchronized swimming for I probably did it for about 14 years and taught it for 3. In terms of competition, I swam mostly the 500 free, which is about 20 laps of the pool, and the 50 fly. I blew out my left shoulder swimming fly really completely did a really nice slap lesion on my left shoulder, and had to have it essentially drawstring sewn back into the socket. So I wasn't super competitive after age 15 because of that. But I still, I mean, a week after surgery, I was in the pool kickboarding with a sling my mother had made me out of swimsuit material. So I'm a very stubborn and determined individual in that way. In terms of sports I like to watch, it is unquestionably hockey, hands down. It used to be football. I was the commissioner of a fantasy football league for 12 years, with a lot of my really good friends, my dad, just a lot of Joe's friends. But I really got disillusioned with the league, just in terms of policy, in terms of how they were handling things like domestic violence and players' health care later in their life when they were suffering really badly from the sort of beatings that their bodies had taken. I got disillusioned with it. But man, hockey, wow. I used to always cut out clips from the newspaper when I was a kid, the day after Penguins games, if there was an article or a picture of a player I liked. I can distinctly remember the Lemieux Francis Yager line like it was yesterday, which really I know is dating myself there. I was, and still am, obsessed with Mario Lemieux. I got his jersey for Christmas for my 9th birthday, and it is still possibly my favorite article of clothing. I have the newspaper from the day he retired for the first time, because it was basically a giant love letter to him, and it was I don't know, he was just the most amazing thing to watch on ice. And I love watching hockey, especially playoff hockey. I am pretty much glued to it for the entire spring and early summer. There is an amazing video of me on Facebook, I think. I don't know that I posted it on Instagram. I'm not sure I was super active on Instagram. No, I mean I was, but I just don't think I posted it there for whatever reason. But there's a great video of me after the 2016 Stanley Cup, laugh crying my eyes out on the floor of my basement when they won. I think my voice reaches a higher pitch than it ever really has. So yeah, hockey for sure. Okay. If you could live in any decade or era, what would it be and why? So I've thought really hard about this. My theory is that if I went back too far, I'd be dead, because I have a heart that like totally decided it didn't want to work anymore. So rather than going backwards, I'm thinking that we put me maybe like 30 years in the future, because fingers crossed that maybe medical science has improved, and there's some really cool thing that will keep my heart beating for longer than 11 years. That'd be cool. And if not, the apocalypse has happened, and I will have a chance to finally take advantage of my serious MacGyver skills, which, if you have ever been in my kitchen, is extremely evident, and it is a sight to behold. I am proud of all the things I have jerry-rigged in this kitchen. So yeah, that's where I'd go. All right. Important question. Do you know how much A Man Has a Name loves you? I do. As a fellow smirker with an uncontrollable eyebrow, I can read behind his charming gaze. I'm not normally the most sincere person, but that he continues to talk to me every day is one of the great joys of my life. Normally I eschew sincerity in favor of terrible humor, but in this case I'll be real. He's tops, and he has improved my life immeasurably. His friendship has improved my life immeasurably. So yeah, I don't know how much he loves me, but I definitely love him. Okay, if you were going to get into a bet with the tattoo on the line if you lose, what would you least like to be the tattoo you'd have to get? So putting aside stuff like fascist symbols, because that to me seems kind of like the obvious answer. I would probably say some sort of company logo, because like if I'm gonna be, if I'm gonna get owned and branded, it better be in a fun way and not that. So yeah, some sort of company branding. I would be down with that. I'd be pretty bummed if I lost that bet. When the hell did you get your brow pierced? How many piercings and tattoos do you have? I got my brow pierced at the beginning of August, so I think it's been about 6 weeks now. It has honestly healed faster than any of my other any of my other piercings, except maybe my bottom lobes. To the second point, I have 12 piercings and 6 tattoos. So I have 8 holes in my left ear, including my tragus, 3 in my right, and then my eyebrow. Most of the ones in my ear I got in college. I would go with friends who wanted to get their ears pierced who were afraid, and I'd be like, oh, just do one for me. I'll show you. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. And it just sort of, I don't know, it kept happening. So I ended up with a lot of piercings, and I love them. And I love my brow piercing, and I have no idea what Blake will suggest next time I go in. So we'll see. Tattoos. I have a cat tattooed on my right ankle. His name is Cesario because I got him the day after I saw a performance of Twelfth Night when I was living in England. I have a dog on my left ankle. He looks like a Sheltie. I doodled him, and his name is Horatio because Horatio is a good friend, and I thought Cesario needed a good friend. The next 2 I got were, I have ahimsa, which is the Sanskrit word for nonviolence, and it's part of yoga's ethical code. I have that tattooed on my left ankle. That's a really important reminder for me, as someone who has a history of self-harm with drugs and alcohol. The idea of non-harming is extremely, extremely important to me. I have namaste tattooed on my right ankle, which basically just means the light in me salutes and honors the light in you. There is something within us that is all the same, and that is what namaste is to me. There are a lot of different interpretations, but what I used to say at the end of every class I taught was, I salute the light within your eyes where the whole universe dwells. For when you are at that center in you and I am at that place within me, we shall be one. Namaste. So that's where that comes from. I have Ferdinand the Bull, Robert Lawson's illustration of Ferdinand the Bull tattooed on my right scapula. He lives there. That's Ferdinand. I love that book. If you haven't read it, read it. It will take you less than 10 minutes to do it. It's a children's book. But it is very much like me. It is about a bull who wouldn't fight, and I am a stocky little individual who is incredibly stubborn, and I am also a pacifist, even though I was once an avid boxer. No more. And my most recent tattoo, finally, you can see it there. That is lead 2 of the electrocardiogram from the day after I had heart surgery. So that is my new heartbeat. That is the rhythm of my life, and that is why I am here, to do this AMA. It's pretty amazing. I know I said it when I talked about my heart surgery in a previous iteration of this, but I'm so grateful. I'm really, really grateful to be here. Even on days when things are really difficult with my RA, I am am genuinely just amazed that I am still alive, and really, really thankful for my cardiologist. Okay, moving on. Sorry, I'm scrolling. What has been the hardest part of having RA? It's not the pain, and it's not the fatigue. For me, it has been two things: the loss and the unpredictability. I lost my job when I got diagnosed. I lost my best friend. I lost a lot. I lost 60 pounds. When I was a power lifter, and then suddenly I had rheumatoid cachexia and muscle wasted it all away in like 3.5 months. It was rough. It was really rough. Losing a lot of things that meant a lot to me was tough. The unpredictability, really, though, that is the more difficult part of this. I have no consistency. Some days I wake up and I feel really good, and some days I wake up and my fingers don't bend, or they just don't work. I can't grip anything. I can't really text using my thumbs. Some days I have to massage my hands for a half an hour before I can really do much of anything. And some days I feel fine. So it's hard to have a routine. Going back to work was really difficult because I was scared. I was scared that I wouldn't be able to handle it. That I'd wake up one morning for a shift and, be in a really bad place. And it's happened a couple of times. I've had to wear a shoulder brace to work on a few occasions just to keep myself stable. And sometimes things like repetitive motion using the slicer can be really rough, but I feel like I'm getting stronger. I feel like I'm learning how to adapt to all of this. And I think that's really going to be a lifelong process. I think I'm always going to be sort of negotiating and pivoting like anybody does with any sort of challenge in their life. So definitely the unpredictability of it, but we are adaptive creatures. That is what humans do. What did you take home from work this week? I got them out of the fridge before I started this because I knew this question was on here. So this week, I brought home some Mangalica ham. They are these woolly pigs that are fed acorns, and their meat is really beautifully marbled and delicious. So you can see, I'm trying to pull these slices out of here. You can see how beautiful that is, and cut very paper thin because it is extremely rich. So very, very, very delicious Spanish ham that is kind of expensive, but I get a pretty nice discount. I also brought home some. I'm not going to open this because I don't want them to dry out. Our chef at work makes homemade pancetta, and it is the bomb. It is so good. I put it in my eggs as often as possible. One of my favorite cheeses. This is La Muse. It is a Gouda that is aged at a lower temperature, so it gives it this really caramelly, delicious flavor. I think this is about 2 years old. Has lots of those little tyrosine crystals I talked about in part 1 of this AMA about why cheese makes you feel so good. It smells beautiful. It's rich. It's lovely. It kind of coats your tongue, but it has this beautiful, beautiful burnt caramel aftertaste that I adore. Super into that. And finally, this. This is so good. This is Michael Speicher's Gruyere from Switzerland, and it is probably the best Gruyere I've ever tasted in my life. It is a little bit funky, which I'm not a huge funky cheese person, but it is just a little bit funky, but it's so smooth. It's almost fudgy in how creamy it is. It has a beautiful paste, and you can see how different it is at the bottom near the rind. So it's almost sweeter up here and a little bit more grassy at the bottom, but a little bit more funky too. But all of the milk that is used for this, it's delivered to the dairy twice a day, and it is brought from farms that are within 2 to 4 kilometers of the place. So really big focus on freshness, really, really delicious cheese, and I'm so excited that we have it at the shop, and I push it on a lot of people. Name 2 things that happened in 2019 that you didn't expect. Oh, wow. Obviously, getting my job at the shop. At the beginning of the year, I was in a pharmacy technician program, and I even worked in a pharmacy for a few months, and I really thought that was sort of the direction that my life was headed in. But then the opportunity to work at the cheese shop kind of fell in my lap, and I couldn't say no, and I am so glad that I didn't. Yeah. 2 things. All right. So the second one's a little bit sappier. Like, I'm not Captain Sincerity, but like I formed a couple to new connections that are really, really important to me. 2 people very unexpectedly came into my life, one of whom I have a disturbing amount in common with, to the point where we have both questioned if we might be the same person in different locations. The only real differences that we have are that he is the right cross to my left hook, so to speak, and he shames me for drinking decaf coffee, which, I mean, look, I'm sorry, I'm not going through that again. Conversation with him is effortless, completely effortless, and something I genuinely enjoy and look forward to every single day. Yeah. The other person is my absolute confidant. Really, outside of my partner, he's my absolute confidant. He understands me in a way that very few people do. I connected with him on a very deep level quite quickly once I got up the nerve to actually talk to him after following him on Instagram for quite a while. I love him. I do. He has brightened my world, and I am genuinely lucky that he sticks around. Like I said, last year was really difficult in terms of losing people, and I was pretty shut down for a while. So this has been a great delight to me, meeting these 2 people and getting to know them, and feeling so welcomed in. It's a really great feeling. Okay, done with that. Okay, I forgot this was on here, and now I'm a little on the spot. This is not a question. Sing a few lines of your favorite song to sing. I don't. I have a lot of favorite songs to sing, but I always think first instinct is best in these instances, and there is one that I sing all the time. So I will give it to you. Just one little verse of it. It is a song by Billy Joel and Ray Charles called "Baby Grant," and it is just one of my favorite things to sing for whatever reason. So okay, let me see if I can think of this off the top of my head. I've come far from the life I strayed in, and I've got the scars from those dives I played in. Now I'm home, and I'm weary, and in my bones is every dreary one-night stand. But my My baby grand is coming home with me, Ever since this gig began, my baby grand's been good to me. Yeah, it's a good song, right? Okay. Alrighty, moving on from that. Okay, so the last thing here is actually not a question. It is a follow-up from part 1 of my AMA, and I did write this down. I did actually take some notes on this because I really want to get it right. Someone who watched the first part of my AMA pointed out something really important to me. I was using some gendered language when I was talking about my thoughts on being non-binary. Essentially, this person made the point that I was ascribing genders to actions. I know that at one point I mentioned not wanting children, for instance, as something that makes me feel sort of less toward the feminine end of the spectrum. But I did mean that quite literally. I wasn't talking so much about raising children. I was speaking more about the fact that I find pregnancy itself, the physical act of pregnancy, inherently very female. And so pregnancy and childbearing is something that is very, very gendered to me, and I that's not me. I'm not female. So yeah, it's not so much about raising children, although that's not really a desire of mine. It's more about that physical act. But they also pointed out that I said that I find comfort in places and dynamics that are more traditionally masculine. And what I should point out is that I don't myself consider these things gendered. But I was speaking from a societal perspective in an attempt, in a maybe a poor attempt, to describe what led me to understand my own gender identity. There are things, actions, etc., that might be considered traditionally feminine or traditionally masculine from a societal standpoint. But I do see those lines becoming more and more blurred. I hear a lot of women that say that growing up they were told not to be tomboys or not to do boy things. But it goes both ways. I know a lot of young men who wanted to learn to dance or be in musicals with me in high school, and were afraid to have their sexuality questioned or just, get teased maliciously for it. Societal norms and expectations are very, very real, and we have a lot of work to do in that arena yet. Ultimately, I know I could do better. As this person really rightfully pointed out to me, in order to change the narrative, we have to do it, right? We have to work on it. So questioning how you speak and what you say, and how you approach gender and what might be thought of as gendered things, is a really important part of, as they put it, maintaining that growth mindset. So thank you. Thank you very much to the person who responded to that. I'm really glad you spoke up. I'm really glad you challenged me to think about that a little bit more deeply, and challenge my own way of speaking about it and thinking about it. So yeah, super grateful. Super grateful. Okay, so that's part 3. Like I said, I've really enjoyed this. It's been super fun, and I hope you have too. I hope sort of peering into the abyss hasn't scared any of you off of me, although if it does, your problem, not mine. I'm always happy to answer questions, either publicly or privately. If you want to learn more about my food life, my yoga life, my lots of pictures of my dogs, you can get at me on Instagram. It's @NeenTheKitchenMagician. And yeah, come hang out sometime. If you're ever in Virginia and you want some cheese and meat, I'll tell you where to go. All right? Have a good day, everybody. Ciao.